user and the provider. And for this reason, we don't ever have any more benefactors, because who is going to give any money to anything for what vision? Confused vision. Are we Europeans? Are we really Greeks? Are we Hellenes? Are we PASOK? Are we Demokratia? Are we Syriza? Are we arguing with this person, the other person, some other person? So I think I noticed, and it's actually, in a way, it's if you look at it biologically and evolutionary-wise, it's an evolution of the society of a young created country, right? So, as I mentioned to you earlier, maybe we are looking into something called the creative destruction that will generate a better and more functioning state. So, I am completely in favor of all what you mentioned, and as a matter of fact, I use it all the time for leadership classes, suggesting that the DNA of the Greek is exactly what has made the country have a red mapping on it. All right? I mean, it's impressive to see that we are talking in America, the land of opportunity, about stem cell research still today. And this is not even an issue in Greece because we've gone far beyond that conversation, and we have laboratory work that it's extraordinary to know that if you want to do a fertilization treatments and you're a German, you gotta come to Greece to do it. So it's like a pot of, and the reason is that science, in a way, I'd like to keep it like a good kept secret, because if the state figures out indeed that we have a red map in terms of that technology and science and yeah, you know what's going to happen? They're going to start regulating it. They're going to start taxing it. They're going to start, you only have 50 people that came out, they're going to be 500,000 people, including your grandparents, coming out of their country. And it's extraordinary to see that even with that minimum GDP contribution, we still came 24 in 2009, right? So I think what is super important to concentrate is to identify all of these leading experts and establish a concept of trust between the leading experts among themselves. And bypass the state, eliminate the state, kind of outsource the state, leave it out, and slowly generate a slow level. Now I'm getting videotaped. Am I going to be on YouTube tomorrow?
Eliminate the state. We caught that.
basically need to do a science revolution.
Yeah. So I think that we don't necessarily need to eliminate the state. I mean, the state will be, sure. Right. We cannot fight the state. The state needs to be there. It needs to take care of the trash of, lots of other things. And they better do that. Yeah, lots of things that are important. But I'm a little bit skeptical about creative destruction, because I really don't know what this means. So I'm always trying to think, can we do something positive? Because one might say, okay, let's annihilate everything and start from scratch. But I don't know if we annihilate everything, whether we will have a chance to ever start, or we'll be, okay, thank you, that was the end of the show, and who's next? What is the next country? I like the creative part. So if you can keep creativity and defend and support creativity and keep it immune from interventions from the state, I think that's really nice. Yes, please.
It's been wonderful to hear you and to meet you in person. I've known your disability work, so this is actually the very great part is new to me. And I would like to build a little bit on the last two comments and sort of propose the possibility of reframing the brain drain as brain growth. And to speak to, looking at it as a positive aspect. People went abroad to grow their brains. People could come and take advantage of what you're proposing back to Greece to grow their brains. And also I would like to put on the table the fact that
There's clearly an opportunity in brain drain becoming brain growth, and I think that we should grasp the opportunity. So, I mean, I'm not saying that the ideal would be for the Greek people to just close their borders and try to remain in the country and not allow anyone to come in or come out and build their science in isolation, or whatever they want to build in isolation from the rest of the world. But as I showed, there's some evidence that actually currently what is being threatened is even that basic nucleus that has been supporting that brain growth. So I think that over the years, all these people who left Greece and went to Hopkins and Harvard and Stanford and Caltech and Berkeley, they came from Greek universities. I think currently the universities are under attack. They're shrinking. They're diminishing in terms of the caliber of the education that they can offer. And maybe they will not be able to supply that new generation that will be as successful as the prior generations have been, even though Greece didn't really get much out of that success. It was more other countries that benefit from that. So I think that there's some risk that Greece may suffer an even more major loss, and the numbers will decline even further, even for Greeks who are abroad. Not just for Greeks who are in Greece, but also for Greeks who are abroad.
Can we take two more questions? One here and one over there.
So a little bit related to the previous comment. I mean, it is a challenging thought that the world is becoming more and more one, especially in science. And whether Greeks are going to do very well from Greece or from Jamaica doesn't really matter so much. I mean, what matters is you being here and you being a major scientist, or all the other Greeks that are here that are major scientists. They are playing a huge role in moving science ahead, in improving the thinking process, improving the quest for the truth. And it is very important if young Greeks actually come here and work with these scientists and develop this dynamic that who knows what it will do eventually to Greece. But at this point, at this crucial point, is it so important to try to keep alive something that tends to be dying and we really cannot do too much about it? Or is it more important to bring those brains here and make sure they develop, and they develop in a dynamic that will be one day very important for Greece again?
It's a strategy question, and I have written an op-ed with the title, the wooden walls, where it's the analogy of Athenians leaving Athens to be destroyed, but fighting in Salamis so that eventually they would get their country back. And to some extent, what you're describing is, I think, maybe a sound strategy for now, but I think that there has to be some plan so that Athens or Greece will be re-inhabited at some point. And otherwise, from a global perspective, I think it's fine to say that science is making progress. I think it will continue, hopefully, although there have been Middle Ages and ups and downs in the history of civilization. But can we participate more in that as a nation, as Greeks? Can we be more in what is happening, which is so exciting?
You talked a lot about people that leave Greece. What about people that haven't been to Greece, namely the refugees? Reportedly, some of them are medical doctors, scientists, and so on. If they eventually integrate into the Greek society, could they help alleviate the brain deficit? Thank you.
That's an interesting question. I think that we are so disorganized that we hardly know who these people are. And
University of Romania.
yeah, that's the best location, unfortunately. So we really don't know who these people are, and we just need to open our eyes and see who these people are, talk to them, and try to see if there's something that they can contribute to society, to civilization, to science, to anything. Human beings they all have something to contribute. And even though there might be differences, sometimes there may be other factors that can unite different people or people with different background. I recall that in California, at some point I met some Syrians, and I realized that they're currently the largest Orthodox denomination in many countries, including Turkey. And Constantinople, most of the Greeks have migrated, but Syrian Orthodox people were using the same areas and the same churches and the same traditions as the Greeks. And if you go back, Greeks until the 7th century, the Byzantine Empire, these were like the highest level of civilization areas. There's all these Byzantine cities scattered across Syria that currently are being bombed or destroyed by ISIS, or you see in satellite photos. I was at the American Association for the Advancement of Science. They had an exhibition here in DC where you can see all the digging that is taking place to try to loot all the antiquities. So we should be open for multiple reasons, both historical, societal, humanitarian, scientific, to have some dialogue, but also have some rules and have some transparency and some organization about what we do. And I think we're probably not very well organized in how we're facing that crisis.
I think we're done. Thank you very much.
Δεν το είπαμε καν εγώ πότε. Το να το ξέρεις. Το ξέρω τον άλλο.